All right, Chapter 3. The next year's Adam Keane, an easy 1032, ball sports, wishing I were a dog. The years after that race didn't add up to much, running wise. The cross country coach at the junior high school didn't have a clue. He was just a science teacher filling a coaching void and earning a paltry extra $500 a year. And worse, he was boring. He had a whistle and a clipboard, and for some reason, that combination bothered me. Also, I thought at the time that the guys on the cross country team were nearly all weirdos and unathletic sissies. I would learn after I joined my high school cross country team that much of my intuition was right. Runners do tend to be weirdos and unathletic. They are rarely sissies. I was wrong about that. Maybe the primary thing standing between me and my destiny was the fact that I, unlike many runners, was athletic enough to play on the football, basketball, and baseball teams. The lure of those uniforms, the gladiator helmets and shoulder pads of football, the all-American web gloves and build caps of baseball, the nearly genetic desire of most Hoosier boys and girls to wear his or her high school's basketball jersey was powerful. The having of an actual number, as you do in ball sports, was magical to me. On top of it all, I had the self-satisfaction, without even running cross country, that I was the best distance runner in the school. It was a sweet denial somehow not to run. Wasting one's talent is, at least at first, a wonderfully luxurious feeling. Then Adam Keane popped up on my radar screen. I'd heard from a sports-minded math teacher that Keane had run a 2-mile cross-country race in a time faster than my Willie Davis-driven 10:19. Of course, I shrugged it off, saying that with 2 years' maturity, I'd be able to do better. That I simply hadn't tried since that muggy spring morning 2 years previous. "But he was on grass," responded the math teacher gleefully. The smirk on the teacher's face made me angry, although I pretended not to care. I could have beaten him, I said nonchalantly, but something vital inside me was crumbling. I went to see a race, just out of curiosity. Didn't help. Keane was big, nearly 6 feet tall as an 8th grader, and not scrawny either. I immediately leapt to the possibility of unfairness. Surely he was an idiot who'd flunked a grade or two, or worse, one of those jerks whose parents held them back so they could be superior due to their advanced age. But neither of those were the case. In fact, he was a better student than I was, and 2 weeks younger. Neither idiot nor weirdo nor sissy, he totally dominated the race. His first mile up and down hills and around tight corners, his spikes flicking up grass impressively, was just over 5 minutes flat. I had no idea what I could do except for my 5:10 opening mile and my 5:09 closing mile from 2 years before, but I had a hard time envisioning myself sticking on Keane's shoulder. All I remembered was how bad it had hurt to run a 5:10 and a 5:09 on hard, fast pavement. Repeating the effort I had given in that last mile against Willie Davis was nearly unthinkable. It had seemed a once-in-a-lifetime experience, as if I would die if I ever went to that place within myself again. But I couldn't help but think that I'd have to visit that oxygen-deprived, vein-popping world regularly to keep up with Keane. He hung on easily for the win with a leisurely 5:30 second mile that left him looking like he could go one more mile, or 1.1 more to be exact, the 5,000-meter high school distance, without much trouble. He ran that day an easy 10:32. He won by a football field at least. I was disconsolate. Screw any thoughts of maybe being his teammate and eventually getting a killer scoring 5 together and smoking every other team in the state. Maybe it was that I didn't yet know what a scoring 5 was. The way cross country is scored is that the 5 fastest runners on a team get their places added together, and the lowest total points for a team wins. However, I wasn't thinking about being on a team. I was thinking about myself. So I walked away from Keane's performance shocked at my bad luck that such a talent should go to the same school as me. Why couldn't he have gone to Ridgeline, the perennial high school power just 9 miles up the road where all the future state champs in all the sports seem to go. I took solace for the rest of the year in the ball sports and my friends on those teams. I wore my numbers with pride. But I knew that when high school came around, I wasn't a good enough football player, or a good enough baseball or basketball player for that matter, to make those sports worth my while in the long run. No pun intended. As high school approached, I reminded myself that I was born to be a runner. As I twisted and turned in bed at night, thinking and thinking and thinking instead of sleeping, my dog snoring peacefully by my bedside, I regularly replayed Willie's words to me from that glorious day only 2 years before. "Man, you are a runner," he'd said. And running was in my blood, I reminded myself. But for the first time, I felt the pressure that having talent brings. For the first time, without even really giving myself a chance to prove otherwise, I doubted myself. I was growing up. The monsters of my childhood had disappeared. They had been replaced by even scarier monsters. The boogeyman, the werewolf, the clown from the sewer had been replaced by failure, humiliation, and embarrassment. My first day of practice as a high school runner could have been better. I learned the toughest, meanest guy on the team, my team captain, hated me. Looking back, though, I should have been thankful. It sounds strange to say, but the immediate and concrete fear is always preferable to the abstract fear. The impending doom and despair that saturates the world when you're not sure of yourself and what you're about. If the fear that dominates your life is real, doing something about it is a lot simpler.